afternoon, everybody. Regular viewers, you know what this show is about, the legends in music and legends in the arts in general, not just music. And today we have a legend. You'll recognize the name instantly. Mr. I don't know if I should bow, curtsy, do what, I'm not sure. Today we have none other than Mr. Lamont Dozier Jr.
Yeah, glad to join you guys today.
How are you doing?
Thank you. I am doing fine today and glad to be joining you guys. I'm up here, I guess a little bit early for me over here in the States. I'm in Las Vegas, but
Right.
you know, I couldn't resist this opportunity to talk to you guys today and talk to your audience. And I'm just loving it and being here with you. You look great, by the way. Look better than me.
Listen, when you're speaking to music royalty, you have to make a little extra effort, yeah? Okay. So
Thank you.
I'm glad it was noted that I made a little extra effort for this king here in music.
Yeah. Oh man, thank you.
So you say you're in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So what time is it there now?
It would be just after like 9 a.m. So for your audience, you guys have been about your day and getting it together and enjoying things. So and headed toward the evening. So right here, we're just getting in about our morning.
You're just getting started.
You're just getting started. Yeah.
Now I remember when we were first trying to organize the timing, and you were saying, "Yeah, okay, 2 p.m. UK time is okay." And I'm thinking, okay, well, it's 4 hours difference. And then he says, "That'll be 6 o'clock in the morning."
I'm an early riser, but oh boy,
yeah,
that's a challenge.
And I said, absolutely not. I don't want anybody that's half asleep with a crumpled face, and I want him bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So I said, you know what? We'll put it back 3 hours. So here we are at 5 UK time.
Yes, fantastic.
9 a.m. Vegas time. So how long have you been in Vegas?
About going on 3 years now, and I'm loving it. I used to live in Los Angeles before then, and actually like 14 years, and you know, just was performing and doing a lot of music things, doing a lot of sessions, doing a lot of writing, working with different artists and what have you. But I love Las Vegas right now because it's a pace that I can really enjoy and relax a little bit. I know people come to Vegas to party, but for me, it's been just a source of relaxation. And
well, I'm here. My mouth was about to drop down because he said, you know, I'm here in Vegas and it's at a pace where I can relax. And I'm thinking, is this a new Vegas that we don't know about?
No, it's the same one. And I believe it has so many things for you to do. I think the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is the gambling and the casinos and the strip and the shows. But it has hiking. It has other activities for families and stuff. It's a different type of Vegas other than the Rat Pack Vegas, and people coming here and just cutting loose. And that option is available to you. But for me, so is the relaxation, just to chill if you want to get out and walk and everything. And I don't live like right in Vegas, live outside of Vegas. So it really works for me. And then when I have a taste or an appetite for all of that stuff, I can go inside and hang out with the tourists and what have you, which is not that often because I'm not here for that.
Well, apparently you're there to relax.
Yes. I'm not here for that.
My history of years, so I'm in awe already. Because I mean, Vegas is literally in the middle of the Nevada desert, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Just that strip down the middle of the Nevada desert. And I know when you fly in, you see that in and amongst all the darkness.
Yes, it's so beautiful though. I mean, whether you come in at night or day and you see the mountains, and I used to come visit, but living here, I really have appreciated the beauty and the landscape. It's sky for days, as far as the eye can see, and we really like it. You know, it's less. I can say safely, it's less traffic than LA.
So you got fed up with LA, did you? Can we say that on air without anyone getting offended?
Well, they're probably not offended. They concur. It's a lot of traffic. It's a lot of people there, and understandably because everybody wants to be there for the weather and all the activities that you can do in LA and the stars and the shows and what have you. And hopefully after the pandemic, they get more control of it, it'll be a return back to that. But I had my fill of that. Yeah. It's not necessary at this point of the game, and I just want to concentrate on my music and
you don't feel that there is the place to do that?
Well, I find myself back there anyway because I'm working with a lot of people. The people that I work with, they still stay there, and I've been trying to get them to move here. No, but but we go back and forth as need be. But it's just one of those situations where you get to do things on your terms, and that really works for me. So when I need to go to LA or Southern California, I do it when it's work related, and I may spend a couple of days of pleasure and see friends or what have you, and then I'm back here in my desert oasis, relaxing.
Yeah, can't wait to get back.
yeah. So it's on my terms, and I think that's makes it more calmer and more manageable, so to speak. Yeah.
And I think the thing is, it's quite pertinent that at different stages of life, you tend to want different things.
Exactly.
And I mean, even here in London, as you get older, not that I'm getting older yet, mind you.
You don't look it, not one day.
You find that you said, 30 years ago, it's great. You wanted to be in the hub of everything in London. And then suddenly you're thinking, well, I really wouldn't mind moving out of London, maybe to somewhere a little quieter and calmer in the country, and commute in the few times that I have to. So I think it's the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, I've been to London several times. My dad, of course. Now he's the true legend, ladies and gentlemen. But
we'll get to him later.
Right? but
I am structuring this interview here.
He used to live in London, and he loved it. And I was over in London in the 90s, and I was in London a couple of years. Well, I'd say about 2014.
Right.
And things had changed so drastically between the 90s. I was there in the late 90s, and then I came back 2014 to do a private affair there in Mayfair. And I noticed things had changed, and population growth and big diversity, and the food is fantastic and everything like that.
Yeah, but you can get just about everything in London.
Isn't that something? I remember you guys used to take a rap for the food, and I was like, I don't remember that anymore, because now you can get anything that you want there. So
anything.
Yeah, that has changed. The food game has accelerated. So
yeah, as I say, with well, it's really down to the fact that a lot more people travel.
Yes.
And also a lot more people have come into the country, because I can remember back in the 70s, again, not that I'm that old, these are stories that I've heard, but back in the 70s, you couldn't even get an avocado in this place. It was, you had to wait till somebody brought it back from the Caribbean, or, to be here now in 2021, and you just go to the corner shop and you can get 2 avocados, you can get sweet potato, you can get yams, or whatever you want. Okay, so it's
beautiful. The markets are fantastic, man. So a lot has changed, but I think for the same reasons, that what got me based in Vegas at the time, and just to live and do things on your own terms. Be it the Strip or LA, it works much better for me. I remember when I was younger, I said, I'm a city boy for life. And as I got older, I said, man, that changed. They broke me up with that. I just said, I think I need a little peace and quiet.
Right.
And it just helps you focus and appreciate what you have going on and what you want to focus on, and without all the distractions and things like that. So, I'm enjoying life, and it's been beautiful, man. And of course, now it's starting to warm up here and heat up, and I'm loving that. So
I've only ever been there in the summer months, so I don't know what it's like winter months, but summer months, that heat is demonic. You're going, somebody pray, somebody apologize, somebody say Hail Mary, somebody do something. But we need to cool it down,
Well, they have a hotel here called the Mirage, the casino. And believe you me, it gets so hot, you start to see mirages. I mean, you start to see vision. I mean, you can cook an egg on the sidewalk. And it is something else. But I don't mind that. We have air conditioning here, so
absolutely
we just make it happen.
Walking down the strip, running to the building. Would you like to purchase something, sir? No, I'm just trying to breathe.
Yeah, so it can get really hot, but people just put on some shorts and flip flops, and they go about their way, and that's the way it is. It cracks me up because you see all these, when they show Vegas, it's so glamorous, people dressed up to the nines. But really, when that heat kicks in, you don't have a whole lot of clothes on. So
nobody's got.
You got to do what you got to do. No.
So you went from Detroit, because that's where you're originally from.
Oh yeah.
Where you were born and bred.
Yes, born and bred, man.
And do you have siblings?
I do. Now, my father has been busy, so I have quite a few siblings. Okay. But I have like my sister. We come from the first group of families that I have Michael Renee, which is my baby sister, and I have Michelle, which is my big sister. So I'm a middle child. Okay. And then I have my half sisters, Bo, Paris, and Desiree, and Bo. You might know he was a hip hop producer and things like that, doing his thing in a little bit early in the 2000s, what have you. But yeah, they're living their lives, and we're doing our things, and I think we're all scattered all over the place. But that's the family, right now. And I was just talking with my sisters the other day in Detroit, and they're making it happen. It's a wonderful things as life goes on and things change. And
absolutely. And as I say, you know what? The one thing you can't choose is family. You get what you're given and you make do.
You got that right.
you get what you're given and you make do. Mm-hmm. But why I asked that question is because I wondered if the musical talent and gift was handed down to any of the other siblings apart from just yourself and Bo.
I think so. The interesting thing for me was my older sister, Michelle, she started singing in Detroit. We had this thing called the Detroit Council of the Arts, and that's where during the summer job, you could elect to do certain things for the summer, but they had a creative and performing arts division. And what we would do, she joined that as a singer, and I was too young to join at the time, but I went with her one day, and she sounded absolutely fabulous. And the other singers that she was working with, they were just magnificent. And it was just pulling all this young talent out of the city of Detroit, which is quite legendary, and it lives up to everything that they say it is, because it's so many talented people there.
Is prolific for talent.
It's ridiculous, and it's still like that. It's just that the genres change, and the style of music changes, but you still have a lot of people coming out of there getting their grind on, trying to get into the music industry and what have you, and they're authentically talented. So I followed her to work, and I saw it, and it had such a profound effect on me. And they at the end of the summer, you would put on shows for the citizens of Detroit, and I saw the reaction she got, and I said, I want to do that. So I ended up, when I was old enough, so I joined the Detroit Council of the Arts. And it was just a shaping form for me. Now, my musical instruction actually began in church, because I was a church musician and I was singing in the choir. And my mother at the time was a music director, and Elizabeth Ann Dozier, God rest her, so she passed on. But my mom is the one that got us all into music. She helped my father, of course, because she worked at Motown too before he did. And that's an interesting story.
He did.
Yes. She was at Motown working with Barrie and Lucille Gordy, Barry's sister, and she was one of the first employees that they had. And then he consequently came over later, and he started working with Brian Holland and Freddie Gorman, because Barrie was like, I want my songwriters to work in groups and things like that. And then later on, they replaced Freddie Gorman with Brian's brother Eddie, and that's how that happened.
And that's how we got the second Holland then.
Yeah, he came in,
and
they did a marvelous thing as far as positioning themselves in the company to get their songs out, and they were fortunate enough to get a hit on the No Hit Supremes, and that's how it started for them. But my mother was there when that started to happen, and she in turn also. And
your mother was there in what capacity? What capacity?
Well, she worked in like the marketing and the distribution for the company.
Okay,
she
the business side.
Yeah, she was on the business side of it. I asked her many times. I said, "Why did you get into the music side?" Because my mom sang as well. She sang with James Cleveland, and
Okay.
she was one of his choir, and she came up in the church as well, and she was a musician. But she wasn't an out front person. She loved to be behind the scenes, and
Right.
she had an appreciation for how things come together for the artists and the company and music and getting the music out there. So she was with Motown for a little bit, and then she just became my full-time mother soon thereafter, after things started to take off with my dad. But she was also instrumental in getting us piano instruction and singing and voice and putting us in the choir. And she showed me my first chord on the keyboards. And she said, "You're going to start playing for the church." I said, "What?" And I was like 8 years old when I started playing for the church.
Right.
And then 11, I was leading solos for the church. And so that was the beginning of my career. Then as I got to be a teenager, I got into the Detroit Council of the Arts. And then I started to perform as a solo artist and learning under jazz instruction. I had wonderful instructors there in the city of Detroit. Just people that also taught you the correct way and technique of doing things and giving you a wonderful music foundation, but they also left you free to do your thing, and express, and they
And
could
that
recognize
official,
that.
that kind of official coaching, schooling, training, whatever you care to call it, I think is quite important to have the official, because a lot of people say I'm self-taught, which is nothing wrong with that. But when you kind of have the official,
Yeah.
training, the keyboards and where to change fingers, it makes all the difference to how you play.
Well, I chuckle when you say I'm self-taught, because then you'll be playing mostly by yourself. The thing is, when you learn the proper foundation, it
Yeah.
gives you the keys to communicate with other artists. And so that they know what you're talking about. So the commonality that we have between us is the language of music,
Yeah.
the rules of music, the dictation, and things of that nature. Now, when it comes to performing and things like that, some things you're going to find they're not in a book and they can't be taught, and you only learn on the job. And that's where you pick up your skill set. You have to be out there in front of an audience. You can't be just in your basement or at home in front of your family and cousins and people that know you and that, "Come on, baby, we cheer you on." No, you have to be in front of just people that don't know you from Adam and will validate and love what you're doing. And then that's when you start to grow as an artist, when you get in touch with the universal aspect of what you're doing and how it binds us all together, and what you're doing. You develop your skill set to communicate to the masses. And that takes time, sometimes for people. That takes different experiences that you can't duplicate. But in order to do that, sometimes you have to speak a language or some type of professional lingo where people know what you're talking about.
Everybody
and you can
knows it's
communicate with
the
other
mutual
musicians and
language,
artists.
as you say. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be that mutual language. And and I'm not saying you have to be a great, read music and all this stuff, because a lot of people make it without. But even them, they have fundamentals that you need, that you can communicate, and people know what you're talking about, and you can get what you're going for and what you're working so hard for, because that's what binds us. And it's really something when it all comes together. So for me, I benefited from some great instruction, and my father was working so much at the time. He was in the studio. There was a time I was in Detroit, and our family was in Detroit, and he was on the coast. He moved to LA. I think he moved to LA about 73. And he had left the Holland Brothers, he had left Invictus, and he was doing his thing as a solo artist. And he broke off with Trying to Hold On to My Woman and Fish Ain't Biting and things of that nature. And he was with ABC Dunhill. And what we would do, we would go visit him in summer and spend time with him. And I remember those hot summers in California, we'd be out there hanging and stuff like that. But a lot of that time I was in the studio. And that process influenced me as well. I was getting, of course, this tutelage from my mom and from the DCA as a performing artist. But then I would come out to LA and I'd be in the studio and watch my father work. And that was my first exposure to Joe Sample and Lee Ritenour and Ray Parker Jr. These people would come in and do a lot of session work with my dad, and they were pivotal very pivotal to.
But I mean, you
music that he
had
was putting
great
out.
tutorage. You know, you are.
Oh yes,
we can honestly say that simply because of who your father is. You had great tutorage, being in the environment, seeing him working, seeing the people that he's working with. But what I must also say is the majority, if not 90% of the people I've spoken with, they've all said at some point the church had something to do with the early part of their musical tutorage.
Oh yeah. It was so pivotal to me and very important to me because I benefited from the non-judgmental atmosphere and environment of your church. You know, you're there with your fellowship people. They loved you so much. They loved what you do, and they really are cheered you on, and they're communing with you in praise. But then, you know, you really start to sing the song. You really start to move people. You really start recognizing that you actually have a gift for what you do, and you're able to be a conduit for the Spirit to come in and touch people and lift people and quote unquote bring the good news, because that's what gospel is good news. And that was just a very developing period for me to have that freedom in church as well. I went to Star Bethlehem Spiritual Temple in Romulus, Michigan, and I started playing there, and I would fellowship with other churches. And I went to a private school, and I was one of the first guys to do gospel music at a Catholic mass, believe it or not. And that was really interesting because the Catholics, they have a very, very, very strict way that they celebrate and they worship. But it was one of the ideas of the fathers there. They said, why don't we communicate the two? Because he heard me and this other church musician playing. He said, I want you to do your thing and our thing, and let's see what happens. And we started doing some Walter Hawkins songs at the Catholic Mass. And do you know, we had one of the biggest turnouts that came to the church. And it was white people, black people. It was people from all over came, because it was just, we were lifting up the name of the Lord and what have you. But some of them, that was their first exposure to up close of gospel music, communing with the Catholic Church. And it was fantastic. And I was so glad to be a part of that, because a lot of them were like, man, y'all do it like this? Oh, I like this. Got a little flavor for it. So, it was really something, you know.
More often than not, greatness comes out of collaborations.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You create greatness, like put jazz with funk, put Latin with jazz. You get greatness when you mix those disciplines and make collaborations with different people from different backgrounds in music. So So when did
they loved it, man.
When did you first think, right, I'm going to do this as a career?
I think I had to be at the young, tender age of 13. And because that's when I started writing. Yeah, I started writing my own songs at 13. And I knew I was good because my father would peek over my shoulder and try to pick my chords. So I knew I was on to something. He said, my father, because he was very adamant.
I speak to these people because these are the stories you need to know. Did you know that? Did you even realize that Lamont Dozier Sr. was stealing from Lamont Dozier Jr.? No, you
didn't. He would. I would be on the piano playing. And he said, "Oh, you got something good there. Let me hear that." And I said, "No, you cannot have it. You cannot have it." And he would peek over my shoulder. He said, "What is that chord there? What triad are you hitting right there? And what's your chord progression? Where are you going with it right here?" And I was like, "No, that's my song. I'm keeping this one." But that was validation. I said, I must be on something right, because this great tunesmith here is trying to lift one of my class, one of my gems, so. But I knew at 13 that this is something that I wanted to do. And then I also recognized that it was going to take a lot of work too, because I knew that you had to really, as in anything, you get out of it what you put into it. So I was like a sponge at that point. I learned what I could from the DCA. I listened to my instructors. They were very good. By the time I was 18, I started performing around the city of Detroit. We started doing nightclubs. I was in various groups where I started performing. And was the progression from going from church and going from a more controlled environment to a very uncontrolled environment. You're right before the public. They don't know you from Adam. You start singing and performing, and it really is a thing of you will develop a fan base or people that like you or following based on your talent. And fortunately for me, because I put the work in, I had a very good experience with nightclubs and performing in Detroit, because Detroit, as in many places, can be a very tough crowd. Even when it's free and they didn't pay for it, you might get hit with something. So even when it's free, it's like, hey, you better be good, because it's not a matter of my money, it's a matter of my time. You wasted my time if you can't sing or you can't do this, can't do it. I'm not gonna sit here and watch this. So it was great for us.
I think that's what you call a baptism of fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I've been very blessed and fortunate.
For an audience for free. And
oh God.
Like,
yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, my first gig, I was at Hearts Plaza, and that was for free. I mean, and we performed. It was one of the final shows of the Detroit Council of the Arts, and I think we had close to 2,000 to 5,000 people just show up because it's free. It's in the heart of downtown Detroit. You see where you see that big Joe Louis fist. Right, for those of your listeners that's ever checked it out, and for the summer kids, that's your big to do. You've been working all summer, now you get to put on this show. And I came out and I did a Field of Fire by Peabo Bryson, which at the time was a big hit. And so the women were like, "You better sing my song, boy. Don't be playing with me." And I got out there and I had a good show, and it was one of those things. And I said, "Now I really know I want to do this for a living, because I got a great response and all of this stuff." So we went into the nightclubs, and in my early 20s, that's what I was doing. We were doing nightclubs and performing different places. I still was
but it's
working
interesting
in the church
that
stuff,
you, as young as 13, decided, this is what I want to do. Because sometimes, it takes people a while to warm up. They do other jobs, and then they think, no, I can't do this anymore. I've really got to focus on what I want. And then there are other artists that tell you, no, from the age of 8 or 9, I knew this is what I wanted to do,
And then there are those people, even when you find out what you have to do, you still got to take those other jobs because you're working toward getting to that place.
Yeah, financing.
I did a lot of that too. Yeah. That's on the path too. And I tell people, they say, well, what advice would you give to someone coming up? I said, well, one of the things I've noticed in my own life is nothing is unrelated to your future. I don't care if you're washing dishes, or you're waiting tables or anything. You're dealing with people. Anything that you come in contact with the public, you're going to learn how to deal with the public and recognize personalities and take advantage of that when you're an artist. As you're consequently and concurrently, you're developing your musical skill on one side, and then you're doing the survival game on the other. But everything that you do plays a part into the journey and the destination where you're going. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean? What I'm doing has absolutely nothing to do with. I said, wait a minute now. I mean, if you're in the business, if you're in the corporate, if you're doing something with the public or anything, all those skills can be used when you're pursuing your music, because it's a people business, but it's also a business. And so if you're working in business atmosphere, or you're in college for something that's totally unrelated, as you may think, to the music industry, you might be surprised that there's a lot of commonality here, and there's a lot of dynamics and relationships. What I do is a people business. My relationships with other musicians and artists started very young, and some of those relationships I have still today are very dear to me. So and we've gone through different chapters of our lives and different destinations, but we've been blessed and fortunate enough to maintain.
Well, I think it was Oprah who said that sometimes you have to do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do.
Exactly. That is so correct. And that's so, it applies to what we're doing, but don't negate the learning along the way. And don't have the blinders on to think, well, I hate this. This has nothing to do with what I'm doing. No, it all plays a part. I mean, you know, I've worked jobs where I worked very hard. It had nothing to do with music. But that same work ethic I applied to my music. And then that's when you start to reap the benefits and you start to see, wow, you know, everything is connected to how much I put in and how much I give of myself and how much I persist and I don't give up. And those skill sets are definitely valuable when you're pursuing a musical career, because you're going to have ebb and flows. You're going to have ups and downs. And you got to stay fast. And if you love what you're doing, you're going to have to draw on that inner strength. And that strength is going to come through in your lifetime. Some things that have anything to do with your music career. It comes through, hey, man, I remember when I was here and I had to go through this and I had to go through that. Yeah. But now that has fortified me to get me through this. So, you know, that's the thing. You have to recognize that you're on a journey and that you're being steered to where you need to be. And that's the thing. So,
and I think it's more positive to think about all of the experiences as a foundation for where you want to go and where you are, rather than seeing them as a hindrance, keeping you from doing what you want to do or being where you want to go.
Exactly. It is a state of mind. I mean, and it is a choice. What they say, happiness is a choice sometimes. How you process it and your perspective and how you apply it definitely plays a part on how it will affect you. And if you see it that way, then maybe it'll be that way. But if you see it as, hey, you know, I'm not going to be doing this forever. In any of those jobs that I took that were menial, I used to tell people, I'm not going to be doing this forever, so take a picture, you know. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. You know, this is just a stepping stone. And indeed, it was, because it consequently brought me to where I am today, where I am just, you know, getting people my music and performing and writing and having the blessing to work with other talented people. That is just marvelous, man. And you really have to recognize the riches along the way. I think people get lost. They say I'm living the dream. Well, you are living the dream. You know, your dream is doing what you love to do for a living. You know, now the successes and everything, there's various degrees of success, but you are living the dream. And if you're doing what you love, hey, everybody else is going to recognize it too. And that's where the love comes in. So,
yeah. And I think, well, if you really love something, the determination and commitment and dedication, it comes a little easier.
Yes.
If it's something you enjoy. You know, so even through the hard times, it doesn't feel like you're going to work. You know?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's your passion, so to speak. It's your It's what you get up in the morning to do. It drives you. I often tell people, they say, well, what would you be doing if you weren't doing music? You know, and I said, well, I've done a lot of things and I wasn't doing my music. But I tell you this, the funny thing about me, when God blessed me with this gift, I have to do it no matter what I'm doing. I don't get a day off. You know, I'm a conduit for ideas. I'm a conduit for songs. I'm a conduit for lyrics. And it's the same thing with my father, and it's the same thing with other talented individuals in our family. Yeah. You're going to do this thing regardless. I talked with my uncle, Reggie Dozier, who's my father's brother, and he's a Grammy winner, and he worked with Outkast and different ones. And every time I talk to my uncle, he's telling me about the new technology on mixing and everything. And this man's been doing this for over 50 years, over 5 decades. He worked with my dad a lot, but then he did a lot of work with Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson and Kenny Rogers, and the list goes on and on and on. But he's one of these people that even he would never try to back away from it, because it's something that just captivates him on a daily basis. And he's in his 70s and he's still mixing, he's still working, he's working with Justin Timberlake, he's doing this. And I'm like, I'm just looking at him like, man, there's no end to it. He said, man, you know, it's who we are. You in the family business, man. You just do your thing.
You see, you're talking to the Doziers here, right? This is why it is very important that these stories are told, because as far as I'm concerned, they're our stories. They need to be told. And you know what, these little snippets of information, because we're emotionally invested.
Yes.
Financially as well, because I've got all of your father's records. Okay,
yes,
so financially invested as well.
Yeah.
But emotionally invested for the simple reason, you know, we've been listening to that music for 60, well, not quite 60, 50 years.
Yes,
and,
yes. 5+
and you
decades.
know, you remember where you were going, what you were wearing, how it made you feel, you know,
yes.
who you were with. So we're emotionally invested. So it means a lot to be able to connect with you guys directly and hear these stories, because they are inspirational. You know, they are very inspirational. So what was your first big single?
Well, my first big single came out last summer, man. You know, I worked with other people on
because I saw you did
projects.
Some collaborations with Ray Parker Jr. and Dave Garfield.
Yeah.
What You Won't Do for Love.
That was really nice, and that was a few years ago. Dave called me in, and you know, he was music director. He is music director for George Benson, and me and Dave did a lot of work around Los Angeles. And with one of the staple tunes we used to do during his set was "What You Won't Do for Love." So Dave calls me and he says, "Man, you know what? I want to record this, but I want you to do the lead vocal." And I said, "Really, man?" I said, "Well, I would love to." But he said, "I'm going to add a Latin flair to it. So I'm going to have some other Latin musicians come in and do it, but I'm going to get some of your Detroit homies on it." And he did. He got Ray Parker Jr. to come in, because I've been knowing Ray since I was a kid. And then he got Randy Jacobs, who was another fantastic guitarist, friend of mine. And me and Randy Jacobs grew up down the street from one another. We stayed on the same block, you know, and not to veer off the point, but that block was amazing, because down the way we had one of the Pips from Gladys Knight and the Pips, William Guest. He lived not too far from me. And then the next block over, Alex Al, who ended up being the bass player for Michael Jackson, he lived there. And then Ron White from the Miracles. We were all on the same block. So that's when I talk about how Detroit was so jam-packed. And then I saw him as a little kid, but he's Big Cheese now. Big Sean was a little kid growing up right down the block over, but we all stayed on the same block in Detroit. And so he called in my Detroit homies, and they laid down that track, and I came, and he said, half is going to be Latin, half is going to be R&B. I want you to do the R&B part. And that's how the Dave Garfield project came together. And I think it was just remarkable, because it gave people a taste of both. Like you said, when you combine different genres and elements together, it's just a stroke of genius. And it was a very good recording. I'm very proud of that recording.
I mean, that tune has been covered so many times, because it is just one of those amazingly written tunes. You know, it's one of those.
Thank you, Bobby Caldwell.
Exactly, Bobby Caldwell. It's just one of those tunes that everything is exactly where it should be.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why everybody wants to cover it. So it was lovely to hear that collaboration and a different style version of such a great track, because I don't think you can go wrong with What You Won't Do for Love.
Yeah,
you can't go wrong with that. I mean, if you mess that up, maybe you shouldn't be in the industry.
No. I mean, he gives you the blueprint, so to speak.
Yeah, you know,
and the critics love it. They've got some good critical reviews from that version of it. And I said, you're doing pretty good, considering, like you said, it's been done hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And it's just a testament of what a great song it is. And it means a lot.
Yeah.
You know, songs are like you said before, they're like time machines. They take you right back to what you were doing in your life and what have you. But I'm so glad we were able to add just a different slant. And I think if you're going to cover songs, hopefully you can do that, you know.
Absolutely.
We had a great time with that song.
Well, speaking of covering songs, you also did a cover of your father's song, Why Can't We Be Lovers, right?
Man, let me tell you. Yes, I did.
Another one you can't go wrong with. Okay.
Him and the Holland brothers laid the blueprint with that. We were in the studio. I was just a kid at the time, but it was like 1972. And I remember they were cutting out one of their songs on Invictus record label. And that was one of the songs. They would split like the lead vocals on it. So when they released their individual tunes, so Brian had out a song, Don't Leave Me Starving for Your Love. And then when Why Can't We Be Lovers came out, my dad took the lead vocal of that. And so when I was performing around Los Angeles, I added "Why Can't We Be Lovers" to my set. Because people were on me like, when are you going to do something of your dad's? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? Which one are you going to cover? I want to hear this one. I want to hear that one. I said, well, I tell you what, I'm going to start off by doing something that I like. And I always like, Why Can't We Be Lovers? So I was really tricky with it.
I apologize. Yes. I'm mentioning the name, Why Can't We Be Lovers? I can feel the goosebumps over my body. Literally. That's what that tune means. Continue. I apologize.
No, and it's a great R&B classic in addition to being one of my favorite tunes. So what I did was I said, I'll get the band to just start playing it so they'll become more comfortable with it, and then we'll go in and record it. And that's exactly what happened. So in 2018, we went in, we recorded Why Can't We Be Lovers. I had my great producer, Kevin Flournoy. I said, I want something that is loyal to the original tune, but I want it a little bit different. I said, let's work with the arrangement. And Kevin gave a magnificent arrangement. We had our musicians come in and they did a great job. And I think we captured that essence of bringing it to circa 2018, 2020, where a new audience could discover it. And but great music, like you says, it just stands the test of time. And it would be very interesting, I thought, just to have Junior singing what Senior did. And I started playing it for them. I played it for Brian Howland, and he was like, "You send it over to me. Send me over the file. I want to listen to it." You know, because they wrote it. And I said, "Oh, Brian, I'm gonna get it to you." And I let my family hear it. I let Reggie hear it. And everybody said, "It's about time, man." You know,
be honest. Were you a bit nervous?
Yes, you're always nervous because here's the thing, and here's the thing. You can think that it's great and all of that, but you have to reckon with that. You know, the original masters are listening to it. You know, and they have the original intention of the way the song was produced and meant for the public to hear, and they're going to be checking out your version and what are you bringing to the table? Did you make it as good? Was it possible for you to supersede it? I don't think I superseded it, but I wanted it to be just as good, because between me and you know, my favorite version is my dad's version of that song. I mean, the classic, what they did is fantastic. I even talked with some of the original musicians. I talked to Sylvester Rivers, who played piano on it. And he heard it and he was like, man, you know, that sounds great. He said, you and Kevin did a great job. And I said, well, that's quite a compliment coming from you, because you were on the original recording, you know. So, but I think they all loved it because it was ushering in a new generation to an old R&B classic. And they were like, all right, man, you know, keep the legacy going. Keep the thing going, man. You can do your thing. And you know, let them know what was going on back then. We were doing it. And so I said, I am very happy about that, you know.
But I mean, I think it's a great idea to be covering these tunes and keeping them current, and
yes,
you're letting the next generation know. But I think, you know, we always have to pay homage to the original. And even on my radio shows, I do a thing called version excursion, and you know, the youngsters are like, "Yeah, I know this version," but then I say, "But listen, you gotta hear this one."
You got that's right.
The original, you can't have this without that.
There you go.
Or you play the original first and they're thinking, I know that. That sounds familiar. No, this is the original, right? What you know comes from this. So you have to pay homage.
Yeah.
But I love that.
You know,
I've almost become a bit of a musical historian, because it seems so important. It's so important that we hear from you guys and your father's generation, you know, and let people know that Black music didn't start with grime and Afrobeats. You know,
no, it's been around a long time.
That went on before that needs to be acknowledged and respected. So tell me, sir, about the new album that came out last year, because I have to say, my tune is I'm gonna take my time.
Well, I'm gonna take my time is one of my favorites as well, and I can't wait to do it live. I think as soon as we get this pandemic under control, I cannot wait to come and perform it live for people, because my guys, my band, they did a wonderful job on it. Me and Kevin had been kicking it around for several years, and I said, this is one of the tunes I want to do. I think it's going to be really cool. So we brought in great musicians to do it, and we brought in Kevin Dorsey. He did the vocal arrangements on it. Kevin ended up working. He's the from the few Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and worked with Michael Jackson and Barbra Streisand and different people like that. And Kevin's singing on it, and Monet Owens is on it, and we have a singer from Denmark, Anja Nielsen. She's the young lady that you hear ad-libbing in the background there, and it just came out really well. It's a throwback to that 90s R&B thing, and it was just people were just like, oh man, I really love that tune. It's very nice, very catchy, and all that stuff. And it just started out one of those things
for me, that is my favorite, because is it an EP that you brought out? How many?
It is a combination of EP. I released like 4 singles. Right. But I'm thinking about cutting a couple of more, and then we're going to put that on like an EP compilation and vinyl, So we're in the process of doing even some more music, what have you. But those 4 tunes just started the conversation, and I'm going to take my time. Was getting so much airplay in the UK. I really thank you guys for your support and all of that. I mean, it just really
we over here love the music. We love the music, and you know what? It's we need to hear from you guys. We want to hear from you guys. And the great thing is, with social media, we can get to you, and you can get to us. And as I said, it's more meaningful because we're emotionally involved. So talking to us is like, we're talking to gods.
Well, hey, listen, you guys us, because without you, we need your conduit to get it to the people. And you guys have been so supportive, and I love you guys for that. I cannot wait to meet you all guys in person, but I love the support. I just wanted to send out to yourself and the other ones, the love and the support that you gave me with my music. It's been just fantastic. People are like, man, they're really rocking your record over here. And I'm like, thank you. I really appreciate that. But yeah, it came about. It was just a fruition of coming out as a solo artist, even though I had sang on songs from different ones. But I'm so happy to share that, and I'm so happy that people are having a good time.
I'm really loving that. I'm gonna take my time. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. And you did a cover of the of the Isley Brothers, right?
Well, see, there we go with that cover thing. That song is an original cover of Todd Rundgren's "Hello, It's Me," which the Isley Brothers covered from him, which I covered from them. Yeah, so Todd Rundgren was the original one that came out with that, and it was such a funny thing. In 2018, Todd Rundgren, he did a project with my dad in Nashville, Tennessee, where he sang Motown songs that my father wrote, and it was so funny. So I said, well, Todd Rundgren has some songs that I really like. I'm going to cover "Hello, It's Me." And we started doing "Hello, It's Me" in my set in Los Angeles. And Kevin said, well, you going to do that? I said, yeah, man. But I said, give us an arrangement, give us something special. And that's what happened. We went into the studio, came out with something magic with strings. And I know the production is a bit lush and what have you, man. But that's one of my favorite songs. Yeah. And I just wanted to do it justice, and I just had fun cutting it.
Every one of those 4 tracks you did Beyond Justice. I don't know if I said it before, but my track is "I'm Gonna Take My Time."
You said that. I think you said it once. Yeah.
Okay. In case you missed it.
Well, we can't wait to do it live. And we're looking at things now. I'm already, we've got one show that we're doing in the fall. And we're going to be doing "I'm Going to Take My Time." And, "Why Can't We Be Lovers?" And another tune I wrote, "I'll Be Here Waiting," And hopefully by then we'll have some other songs as well to offer people. But,
yeah, because you said
we're looking to get back out there
to do a few more tracks.
Yeah, I want it to be a little bit more complete, and I like to put out a vinyl set of it as well, and make it a proper introduction, so to speak, because we have just a chock full of songs, so it's like, let's take this just to wet the beak, so to speak, and let them know what you're doing, and then let's hit them with some more stuff that we have lined up. And so we're doing that, and and looking forward to it. But more importantly, we never got a chance to promote these songs. So as things open up,
when did you bring them out? I know they came out in 2020. Was it the beginning part of 2020?
It was in the summer of 2020 that we ended up releasing
them. So right in the middle of the pandemic. So you couldn't
right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we couldn't really go out and push them and promote them live. But that gives us something to look forward to. We will they will be in the set once we hit the stage, when everything loosens up. So it's going to be very exciting for the audience to be like, well, are you going to do my song? Yes, we're going to do your song.
You better do my song. You better do my song, or this interview will never get out there.
I'm being held hostage. Barry's holding me hostage,
because I've been the one at the front of the stage standing like this until you do my song. Right in the front.
No, it gives us something to look forward to. I was talking with Kevin the other day. He said, "Man, I can't wait. I said, "Well, it's great when you've been blessed with great material, and that you have something that the public is looking forward to, and that makes everything exciting. So we can't wait to get it to you. The song is as soon as things open up, we're going to be out there touring and doing what we got to do. But it's going to start here probably in the States first, and then we'll.
Are things happening? Are things starting to open up in the States yet?
Yeah, they are. We still have to see. We're still on a tentative watch, but they are going full steam ahead as far as music festivals and opening up venues. I think they're going to make adjustments. I think things are going to be different from here on out. How they do it. I don't know how far we're going to be away from the audience. I don't know if they're going to be using glass petitions or things like that to hasten, or could, keep any spread from happening from any a second pandemic wave or anything like that. But I think we just have to pay attention to how things go this summer. If things go good this summer, then I think it's going to open up. If things have to close back down for whatever reason, and I hope not, I hope everything all the precautions that are being taken, I hope they work. I just put it like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because we've been hurting as live entertainers. We've been hurting, man, for a long time.
Oh, I tell you. You guys have been hurting because you can't perform, and we've been hurting because we can't hear you perform. So it's been a vicious circle, Yeah. But what I've also loved is that a lot of people, and you guys have got us through a lot of the lockdown, trust me.
Yeah.
Because you go into that record collection and you have a few Jack Daniels, and the world seems fine all of a sudden.
Yes, that's why we did it. That's why I did it. Because a lot of people were like, "Well, why are you gonna release this during the pandemic?" I said, "This is what the people need right about now. They need something that will distract them and give them a bit of escapism to something very pleasant. Because right now they can't go out, they can't see their loved ones." And that's where I'm going to take my time comes in. He says, as soon as the plane sets down, I'll be running to you at the speed of sound. And it's like
every one of you that I have spoken to has said, I just use the time to write and create and record. And, obviously with how technology is now, we don't have to be flying all over the place to record.
Yes.
We can do bits and send it and then send it back. And, so it's great that so many of you have had music coming out in this period, i.e. Tom Brown, Sheree Brown. A lot of people have been doing stuff and, have just been released in March and April. So it's great to see it. So we are waiting for your few more tracks to add to those 4 gems.
Me too. Yes, indeed. Can't wait, man. I mean, it's been a wonderful year, but the way I tell people, you survived it. let's claim victory on it. Let's keep moving forward so we can get back in front of one another again and just rejoice in that spiritual process of live music and communicating to each other on a one-on-one basis. I think that's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to do that again. Lovely. You know. Yeah,
well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure's mine, man. Barrie, you fantastic. We got to do this again. Especially when the new stuff comes out, you know.
When the new stuff comes out, we will be doing it again. Because I'll tell you, I'm like a bear on a salmon. Once I get my claws in, you don't get away, right? You're there for life. Yeah. So that's it, you know.
Yeah. We got some more to talk about too. I mean, there's some other things we can talk about as far as the industry and historical things. I think you're a music historian like I am, and there's a lot of things that we can discuss that bring us to where we are today.
Listen, we can never cover it in one interview. And some people I've had to do part 1 and part 2 and part 3, you know, of those stories, because there's so much. And when you've been involved in music, especially in the way that you have, you know, in the family generationally, you can't do it in one interview. So you know you will be back again, and we'll be glad to have you back again and hear some more of these stories.
Pleasure. So, I'm honored, man. Thank you so much.
All the best with it. I mean, all the very best. You've got your support network and music family in London waiting for you. Stuff. And we wait to see you in person.
Now that's the thing. Yes, can't wait to do that. Can't wait to do that. I can't wait to get back to London town. I believe it's going to be great, man.
Absolutely. So, wonderful, sir. You take care. All the best.
Take care, Barrie. All right now. Never stop. See you soon. Bye-bye. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.